Hello everybody and welcome to the second episode of Bizzle Haulage. Yep, that's Bizzle Haulage. For those of you who've watched the first episode, my introduction video, my very first YouTube video, you may remember that it was called Bizzle Trucking. Now I've changed the name. The only reason why is because I was googling randomly the other night and I found a Bizzle Trucking based in the USA, and I thought I'd best change the name basically before they tell me to. So we're now known as Bizzle Haulage, and this is my company and this is my truck. Now this is a Mercedes-Benz Actros. It's a 2563 model, so it's a 25 ton gross vehicle weight. So basically it can carry heavier loads. Now we'll do a full introduction and explanation of all that kind of thing when I can understand it, which I may be able to understand. But essentially a lot of the trucks in the United Kingdom are these 3-axle tractor units, so it allows weight to be spread more evenly, and also you can carry heavier loads than a 4x2. I think the longest trailer you can have in the UK, and with a 4x2 trailer you can only carry about 20 tons, whereas with the longest trailer you can have with a 6x2 or any other variation on that, you can carry about 28. I think I did do some basic reading on that, but as you can see, no matter what axle configuration it's got, the truck looks fantastic, doesn't it? It really does look brilliant. So I'm going to do a full in-depth review of the Actros. Outside looks great. This is the bigspace model, so this is the middle model of the range. There's a stream space, which is lower. There's a bigspace, which is this one, exactly the same as this, and there's the gigaspace, which is a bit squarer and a bit taller. Personally, out of all of them, I prefer the stream and the big spaces. I think they look better. The bits of chrome on the truck, as I've said before in the introduction video, really do set it off, particularly those chrome inserts on the mirrors, and this wheel pack looks great. It does add a great amount of style into what's already a fantastic looking truck. So internally, very clear, very clean, very modern interior. This is the entry-level interior. There's two options available. There's this one with cloth seats with that kind of spirally wavy line pattern on them, and there's a leather seat which has darker outer bolsters of the seats with a cream insert, and it's also got wood trim. Now I don't like wood trim, so I prefer this. I think this looks a lot better, a lot nicer, and as well you've got the beige trim in the ceiling space, which adds a bit more light. And it's amazing really the difference you get, because certain trucks on this game, those without sunroofs like the DAF XF Space Cow, they don't really let a massive amount of light in. They're a bit darker inside, even though they've got probably about the same kind of glass area. As for visibility in this truck, it really is very good. You can see all around you. The front mirror's great. It's quite a large front mirror. The side mirrors are huge. In fact, if I reset my seating position to standard, you can see a good way behind you. And the front mirror, you can see a good way in front, so you can see all the lines on the road, like the stop lines. The side mirror, excellent as well. Gives you plenty of visibility for curbs and cones and things. As for bits of detail in here, lovely bits of detail. You've got the chrome kind of rings around the heating controls. They look great. And you've got basically bits of shinier trim here, but by the bunks, they look lovely as well. So, without any further ado, let's get going. Now, what I've got on the back is a small container. It weighs 10 tons, so it won't be struggling. This truck won't be struggling with that at all. And it's got mobile phones in. We're going to Kiel in Germany, so let's have a look at the route that we're going to take. 562 miles and 19 hours it'll take to get there. So, let's see. Yeah, up that way, through Rotterdam, past Hamburg, and then to Kiel. Alright, should be a good journey and a good variety of roads to test this truck on. See that nothing's coming. Yeah, we're okay. Oh, same thing every time I pull out here. There's always someone coming. Is he stopping? He's stopping. Thank you very much. Thank you. Just flash my hazards to say thank you, which is a bit of a UK tradition. You didn't, when I was younger, you didn't generally tend to see that, but now I think you see it a lot more often. Drivers just flashing the hazard lights to say thank you, particularly on busier roads, or drivers of bigger vehicles like buses and trucks when they get let out of stops. You see a lot of that now. So let's get on the road, let's get out of Felixstowe, and let's get towards Harwich. We'll get on the ferry, and then that's part of the way there. As you can tell, it's pulling 10 tons, and you can tell with the acceleration, very good acceleration. Lovely sounding engine in this, brakes are very, very good. Just pulling to the roundabout, steering is excellent, very nice, very direct. Set the cruise control for 30 miles an hour because there's some speed cameras coming up. These yellow speed cameras are known as specs cameras in the UK, and what they do is they measure your average speed over a set distance. So you usually see them on quite busy roads which have a problem with speeding, or more often than not you'll see them in roadworks. So let's say if there's a section of roadworks for 5 miles, you'll get specs cameras at a regular interval recording your speed. And the first camera and the first camera and the end camera, they take readings and they basically corroborate your speed, but there's set cameras in the middle, and what they do is they measure your average. So if, say, the limit is 50 miles an hour and you're found to be doing an average of 62 miles an hour through the roadworks, you're going to get a speeding ticket. They're not very popular in the UK, to be honest. A lot of drivers find that there's an awful lot of concentration when going through sets of roadworks with specs cameras. An awful lot of concentration required, sorry, because basically they are very worried about breaking the average speed. So yeah, people sometimes tend to either go very slowly through those roadworks or just stick exactly religiously to the limit. This truck, another advantage of it is it's very quick to gain speed. One of the reasons why is because it's got an awful lot of torque. There's 3,000 Newton meters of torque, I think from 1100 to 1400 RPM, which means it's a good spread over the rev range, plenty of power. Personally, I prefer this truck to a lot of other trucks on the game, a lot of other trucks that are more powerful that I've driven before. I used to have a Volvo FH16 before this, a 750 model, and I prefer this. Alright, it's down on power, and sometimes you notice that. If you pull in anything above 25 tons, I think you notice that, but it's still very good. Anything lower than that, anything lower than 25 tons, it doesn't struggle with at all. To be honest, I've pulled 30 tons with this. 30 tons, 32 ton bulldozers, and I've never had a problem. Alright, going uphill, it can be a bit slower going than normal, but generally they're very good. Lots of power when you need it. And it's the same for the lower engine Actroses as well. I've had a 2552 model, so that's the 520 horsepower engine. That's been very good as well. Let's see if we can pull in. Yeah, check the mirrors here. Nice big windscreen in this truck, and one thing as well is the driving position is very adjustable. Very adjustable, so if you want to sit close to the wheel, then you can. But if you want to sit far back, or if you want to sit slightly to one side, then you can do in this. Some trucks on this game don't really have that much adjustment, whereas some you can't quite see everything when you are adjusted. For example, your mirrors can sometimes be a little bit blocked, but this, no problem at all. Fuel consumption, as you can see, is very good. I've had this truck do about 11 miles per gallon before, which is excellent. That is very good. Not many trucks get to that kind of level of fuel consumption. On average, generally I get between 9, sometimes 9.5 miles per gallon out of it. Sometimes I get about 10, but that's quite rare. But sometimes, even if I'm really giving it a lot of abuse, this truck, going up hills with heavier loads, it can do 8.5, 8 miles per gallon, no problem at all. It generally very rarely goes below that, unless I'm doing more urban deliveries, so say between two cities that are quite close together. The retarder in this truck, let's just test it, very good. Particularly on the third setting upwards, it's quite powerful. It can stop your truck pretty quickly. Just going into Harwich now. This is one of the main ports on the east coast of England. It links out to the Netherlands and onto continental Europe. It's not too far from Felixstowe in real life. They're two main ports. I believe, if I remember rightly, Harwich is more for say people, so that sounds very strange to say that, but say passenger ferries. If I remember rightly, I may be completely wrong in this because I've never been to Harwich, and Felixstowe is more for goods and industry. So an awful lot of oh dear, come on, sound the horn. So an awful lot of container freight comes in to the UK from Felixstowe onto the ferries, not far along. Let's put the cruise control on 30 when I get there, because I don't want to get a speeding fence. As you can see, it does look very industrious around here, very nicely modelled really. Got the cranes lifting the containers. Brake. Advantage I find to the Actros as well is, even though this is the base model, it's still got a sat-nav screen as standard, so you can turn the route advisor off if you wish to. Personally I leave it on, but I mean that depends on everybody else's personal preference, but some people like to turn it off, so you don't need, in the DLC, you don't need one of the portable sat-nav units, which is an advantage if you like a nice clean uncluttered windscreen. Here we go, let's get pulled up in here, let's get on the ferry. Let's not go in too quickly, add them off, I feel it's going to hit the wall. Excellent, pull up, engine off, lights off, see where the ferry's going to take me. Europort. £29,500 for delivering some mobile phones. So, lights on again, engine on, and away we go. Once I take the handbrake off, I keep doing that. As for performance at low speeds in the Actros, this model in particular is very good. It's got nice gearing, so it's quite happy to pull from low revs. It's pretty brisk between through the gears even. Plus as well, if you need to extend it, give it a bit more throttle, give it more welly, then it's more than willing for you to do that. Some trucks I find aren't quite as willing to rev. This engine likes to be revved, I find, which is very useful when you just want to give it full power. Say if you're in a hurry like this, I'm just going to take it up to its top speed. Who's Bob? Does anybody know who Bob is on that sign? I keep seeing those Bob signs around in the Netherlands, but I don't know who he is. So if there's anybody watching from the Netherlands, or if you also have Bob in your country, then please let me know. I'm interested to find out who exactly he is. He or she, indeed. Let's have a look out the window at a brick wall. Onto the river. Lots of wind turbines around here, as you'd kind of expect from the Netherlands. Let's slow it down a little bit. Going a bit too quick for this slip road. Keep it around here. Very brisk performer. Plus as well, it's pretty quiet at speed. It cruises very nicely at 50. It's only pulling about 1100 RPM, so it's revving lower than a lot of trucks. And a lot of trucks do it at 50 miles per hour. Now 50 miles per hour, of course, as you can see on speedometers, is equivalent to about 80 kilometers an hour. Me being British, I'll refer to everything as miles per hour. I do know some of the miles per hour and kilometers per hour equivalents, like 43 miles per hour in this country is 70 kilometers an hour, 31 miles per hour is 50, and 37 is 60. I think it's every 6 miles for every 100 kilometers, I think. 6 miles for, no, not 6 miles for every 100, 6 miles for 100, excuse me, I'm just falling over my words. 6 miles for every 10 kilometers. I will get there eventually. Pulling uphill, I'm on the cruise control here, and it's doing really well. If I was giving it full throttle, I could probably get up there a little bit quicker, but still, cruise control is pretty good on this truck. It's all around the interior. Dials are very clear, that's another advantage. Plus as well, with the trip computer you can see everything you need to see. So I can see my speed, the cruise control is set at, the revs, I can see how much AdBlue's in the system, I can see the fuel level. Plus as well, on the fuel consumption meter I can see my instant fuel readout, so what my current fuel consumption is, as well as the gear I'm in and the average fuel consumption. I think that's very good. I think this is probably the best trip computer out of all the trucks on the game. The Volvo one as well, that's pretty good. Let's get the other screens up so I can show you them. Water and oil, air pressure, speed, that's a big advantage. You've got a digital speedometer in the middle as well, so if you just want to take your route advisor off like so, then you can see your speed in miles per hour there, and then your range, 1439 miles, that's, I would say, is pretty good. 740 litres, that's excuse me, got a bit of a sore throat today. That is another advantage to the Actros. Big fuel tank, 800 litres, even in the 6x2, 6x24, mid-lift, tag lift, etc. Anything more than 4x2, you've got an 800 litre fuel tank, which is very good. It gives you a pretty good cruising range. On average, I'm getting around about 1600 miles out of the tank. There's Bob again, which is very good going. Very economical, as I said before. Just generally a real pleasure to drive this truck. I mean, we're out on a flat section of road now, not much noise at all. Interior, I like the bits in the interior. I like the style of it. I like the little ledge there for the SCS cup, the obligatory SCS cup. I want one of those. I actually want a big SCS cup. Got a little ledge there for your essential Chihuahua and your Bulldog. I just realised I actually have got the Bulldog and not the Chihuahua. Your sunglasses and your inductive compass. After all, every truck needs a compass. And you've got your little fluffy dice there for hanging there. All in all, this truck interior I think works pretty well with the DLC as well. Very nicely styled. Nice clear controls on it as well. I mean, if I was to get into this in real life straight away, I'll probably know straight away how to start it, how to get into gear, what everything does. Everything's very clearly marked. All of the lights on the dashboard very clear. Let's see how far we are now. So I'll look on the map, quick look, 294 miles. Right, okay, we're not too far from Germany now. Let's have a look how she looks at night lit up. Oh, she looks lovely at night. Absolutely great at night. Beacons up brilliant as well. This truck really suits the lower grille guard there. I think that's the Samurai. I think. I'll have a look. I'll have a look in a bit. When we pull up into Kiel, I'll get it into a garage and I'll show you some of the customization options. I think it really does suit the lower grille guards there. And the bits of chrome. So, let's get back inside. Much quieter inside. Very comfortable. I can imagine in real life spending hours behind the wheel of this and not getting tired. Feeling very comfortable. Not feeling very sore. Feeling relaxed. Like I am now. I'm currently reclining in my chair whilst I drive this. Some of the trucks on this game are a little bit noisy, but this I think is probably the quietest out of the lot. Even at 55 miles per hour, it's still pretty quiet, even though it is pulling higher revs. Now, as for the other engines in the Actros, there's several different options. There's two main engines. There's this one, which is a larger engine, and there's a smaller engine. Now, the way you tell which one you're going to get is by the 2 digits at the end. So, if you get anything that ends 42, 45, 48 or 51, that's the smaller engine. Sounds different. Sounds a little bit duller than this one. Sounds a little bit different. And the larger engine, I think it's a 15.6 litre if I remember rightly. That is identifiable by the last 2 digits beginning being 52, 58 and 63. So that's the bigger engine with very different power outputs. Now, I've driven both engines. I prefer this one, but the lower powered one, I think off the top of my head it's a 12.9 litre. When I find out, I'll go on the Mercedes website, I'll put a link, a bit of information in the description as to what's what as well. I'll probably caption the video when I can suss that out as to what's what, in case you're interested. There's Bob yet again. I prefer this engine. The lower powered engines are very good still. I've had a 51 model before. That's been a pleasure to drive still. Very comfortable. Gets up to speed quite well. Not quite as well as this, of course, but still very nice. The main difference as well I find with this engine is torque. There's a bit more torque, so it's a little bit more willing to pull up larger hills without changing down. Let's just overtake this guy. This engine, lots of torque. Anything with this model engine, so any 52, 58, 63, has a lot of torque. The difference between the 51 and the 52, I struggled to find it out until I've noticed the difference in the engine name, but they do feel different on the road. The 52 I think seems to be more comfortable in a higher gear at lower speeds than the 51. But again, that's just my opinion. I mean, I don't think anybody's perhaps as in-depth with these truck reviews as I am, but if anybody is, or if anybody wants to give me their opinion, have you driven an Actros, one of the MP4 models like this? If you have, then let me know, and I'll be very interested to hear what you think of them. Personally, I'd love to have a go. I think they would be very pleasant to drive if they are anything like this. It's very nice time of night. It's 1:05 in the morning. We are on a pretty quiet road. We are very quiet indeed, actually. On our way through Germany. Let's have a look at the fuel consumption. 47.6 litres per 100. That's very good. Again, if I remember correctly, it's probably about 10.5 miles per gallon, maybe. It's about 10, maybe. Something around there. I think it's something between 9.5 and 10.5. I'm not an expert at conversions with litres per 100 miles and MPG, to be honest. But I think it's about that. Off at this junction here. Lovely brakes. Very good for slowing you down into these kind of junctions. Can't quite see where the back of the trailer is. All cruise control back on. Let's see how far we are now. 204 miles, okay. Not doing too badly in terms of progress. Now, uphill I think this section is. Oh, the lane doesn't end. Just get the route advisor up. Doesn't struggle at all on hill like this. Even with a heavier load, they don't really struggle. They still keep pretty good performance. See, this lane's about to end, so I need to pull in here. Don't want to be going off there. Headlight range, very good. Just check that I've got the auxiliaries off, yeah. Yeah, headlight range on main beam, very good. No problems at all with that. Some of the trucks are slightly dimmer headlights. I think this is probably one of the best sets. Maybe the Volvo FH is slightly better, but I think this is perfectly acceptable. And there we go, fuel consumption dropping very rapidly. Now we're on a very level straight section of road. Yeah, I've gone from Reykjavik in Iceland to south of France in this truck in the space of a few hours in one sitting, and it's never bothered me. I've never just thought, oh, you know, best have a break or whatever. I've just thought, you know, let's carry on, because it has been such a pleasant thing to drive. The engine being quiet in a virtual truck is actually pretty good, really, when you think about it, because when you're driving it virtually, if you've got your headphones in and you can hear the truck and it's loud, then you may think, oh, you know, it's getting a bit wearisome to drive, but this, because it was pulling low revs and it's very quiet, very refined over long distances, it didn't bother me. Some trucks I've done long journeys like that in and I've had to give up after about an hour's solid sitting here because they've been a bit too loud, a bit too uncomfortable really. Alright, it's not the same as driving the truck in real life, but I think it still does affect it, kind of noise levels. Haulage, I think that was. If you're German and you're watching this and I pronounce something really badly, then I honestly do apologise. I hope you're not offended. I'm going to say that now because I've no doubt there will be some dreadfully poor German pronunciations coming up soon. I need to stay in this lane because apparently I can't overtake anybody. Oh great. There's always somebody going slower than me, even though I am doing the limit. I'm catching up to this fella in front here. Bauhaus. Let's have a look outside again. Let's have a little look around. Hamburg and Bremen straight away. Straight up even. There's Bauhaus. I'm weaving across the road. $141 miles to go. Oh, let me in, let me in. Thankfully, we can get a flash of the lights for that. Full beam range is excellent, as you can see. Very good indeed. Particularly in the darker areas of this map, so some of the quieter lanes around the place. Very good full beam range in this truck. Is he gonna let me? I'm going in anyway. Stupid AI on this game. They used to let you in for, I think it was version 1.18 or 1.19. Excuse me again. And then an update came out and they were dreadful. On the motorway, they would, or on the autobahn, or whatever you call it in your country, the express roads, they would never let you in, ever. You could be sitting there for ages with your indicator on and it would be like arguing. They would just not let you in. So I'm going to stay in this lane now. Yeah, the AI proved to be a nightmare in the sections of the map where there's a lot of lanes being dropped, so like this lane would go off into a junction whereas the other two would carry straight on. There's a lot of that in certain sections of the map, and it can be very frustrating with this AI. 114 miles to go. Now we won't take too long to cover that. And the sun is coming up. Very nice sunrise. A very nice place to be to watch it as well. Just check out my range. Hours 29. Oh, I can get there plenty of time. I thought I might need a rest. Very quiet now. It seemed to be quite busy before, but it seems to have settled down. Fuel consumption, it seems to have leveled off to an average now, 44.3. That is excellent. Also, one thing you might notice is the little orange light there. I've raised the middle axle. I think I mentioned that before. Raising your middle axle is a good thing to do if you're carrying a light load. And the reason why is because you don't need to spread that weight out. With a heavier load, you do need to spread it out, whereas with a lighter load, I think it's like anything below kind of 15-16 tons. Anything above 15-16 tons, you kind of need to have that middle axle down. And the reason why is because you can spread the weight out a lot more effectively. Whereas I'm carrying 10 tons like this, I don't need that axle down because the weight isn't actively affecting the tractor unit. So I can keep the weight, so with the weight down, I can keep the axle up. So that means that there's less resistance on the road surface with the wheels. So therefore, my fuel consumption is better. That is a big advantage of driving a midlift compared to a tag lift, because a tag lift is a lot more sensitive regarding the amount of weight it has on the back. Oh, best pull in here. I was in the wrong lane. A tag lift, I think, can only generally carry very light loads with its rear axle lifted up. And anything kind of above that, I think it's a very low threshold. The rear axle automatically deploys because it needs that to keep the truck balanced. Because in general, a tag lift, the wheelbase is only a little bit longer than a mid-lift. So you've got your driven wheel basically in the middle of your tractor unit as opposed to at the back. So you've got the potential to basically make the truck do wheelies if you put anything too heavy on and you don't deploy that rear axle. But nearly all the time, a tag lift will deploy its rear axle by default. However, your tag lift rear axle has 4 tyres on it, whereas your mid-lift axle has 2. So when you're driving along unladen, you're actually putting more wear on your tyres and therefore increasing your fuel consumption. Whereas with a 6x4, personally, I've not had a 6x4 in this game, and the ones I have driven in the quick jobs, the fuel consumption difference you can see absolutely enormous. Compared to a 6x2, it's massive because you've got both of your rear axles driven then, which doesn't half increase your fuel consumption. I had at one point, actually, I've just thought about this, I had a FH16 750 quite early on, which was a 6x4, and I couldn't get anything better than 8 miles per gallon out of it because it was constantly putting the power through 2 lots of rear wheels. Whereas of course with your mid-lift and your tag lift, you're only putting that power through 1 set, so you're not using as much fuel. That's my basically my introduction to the disadvantages and advantages of different axle types. But let me know what you drive. If you drive a 4x2 all the time, then I'm interested to know, do you prefer the tag lifts? Do you prefer mid-lifts? I don't see many people driving mid-lifts. I'm on World of Trucks and I don't see many people with them. I'm sure that people do have them, but I'm not seeing that many. Also, I've just thought of another disadvantage to tag lifts is the fact that when your axle is up, so if you're driving unladen, I found they feel a little bit twitchy. Going around corners in particular, because your wheelbase is a lot shorter, because your driven axle is a lot further forward than it would normally be. I find that they're a little bit skittish. Let's see, is it? Oh, there's someone else coming. Come on. Are you letting me in or what? Are you just... No, yes, no? Right, oh, he is. Rare instance, thank you. Of course, flash the hazards. We are nearly there. 4:38 in the morning in Germany. Let's have a look over there. Lovely. Let's not look over there for too long. Oh, bit of a frame rate drop there. 49 miles to go. We'll be there in no time at all. These big mirrors are proving quite advantageous. Most definitely. See everything that's coming behind me. Also, a hint and tips if you get the Actros, or if you've got one already, is the standard mirrors. The way they're adjusted, they're a little bit too pointing in a bit too much, so you can see more of the side of your truck than what's coming at the side of you. So what I would do is I would use the F4 key. So press it once, press it twice. Oh, sorry. Press it once or twice. My mistake there. Choose the mirror, and then adjust it how you want it. So like so. That way you can see a bit more of what's coming down the side. That's just my opinion. I mean, some people might prefer their mirrors differently, but I prefer them just like that, so you can see exactly what's coming down each side. Here we go, back onto the single track road, or single roads even. Single carriageway road. Single track road in the UK means something different altogether. A single track road isn't one of these. It's not a road with two lanes, one going each direction. A single track road is a lane with it's a road with one lane. There's a few of those in the north of Scotland and in Wales, basically in quite rural areas where there's not that much traffic. And what they have is they have passing places. So the parts of the road excuse me, I'm falling over my words, where the road's a bit wider. So there's like a bay at the side that you can pull into and let cars past, or let bigger vehicles pass. They're generally not long enough for trucks, so trucks are generally warned off single track roads, signs saying unsuitable for HGVs, etc. Let's get it up to speed down here. This will show another advantage to the Actros. One thing I do like about this Actros, that advantage, is the handling. It handles really nicely, I find. For a truck, it pulls really nicely around corners. It feels quite level. It feels quite flat as well. Lots of Renault Magnums now. The Renault Magnum is another truck I'll be reviewing. I've downloaded a mod which provides 3 different models. It provides the Mark 1 Magnum, the Mark 2 one, as well as one of the last ones called the Magnum Legend. I'll be doing a review of those in the next few videos. I'll be letting you know what I think of each one of those different types of Magnum. And here we go, we're just coming up to Kiel now. Someone broke down there. Yeah, oh dear. Just waiting for the ADAC, I think it is in Germany. They're a breakdown. I think they're a breakdown agency as well. I think. If I've offended any Germans, then I do apologise. I'm sure they're a breakdown agency. I think they're a bit like our AA in the UK. The Automobile Association. Handbrake on. Let's wait for the lights to change, and you see my dice is bouncing around. Someone just stopped in the middle of the junction there. All around fast as we can. Down the hill into Kiel, and then we'll pull up at the yard. And then I'll do another little video which will be customization of the Actros and different options you can have on it, and personally which ones I think are better. Oh, these lights aren't on green for very long. Hello, Scania. Yes, straight off the line. Truck drag racing. Here we go, and another successful Bizzle haulage delivery is about to be made. Let's get the hazard lights on in the yard. Ooh, a little bit wide there. Waitrose trailer. Didn't expect to see one of those in Germany. Waitrose is a UK supermarket. It's basically one of the more upmarket supermarkets. Let's get this in here. Maybe not. I've not done that very well, have I? Also, here's a hint actually, before I start. When you're reversing and you've got a midlift, if you've been driving along with it up, put it down, because you get an extra set of steered wheels then, which can help you just manoeuvre your truck a little bit quicker and a little bit better. That's what I found. So yeah, if you've got a midlift and you've been driving up, put it down for your reversing, it just makes it a little bit easier. Into the space, get it into drive, and brake on, detach the trailer. Ah, lovely. £29,500 in the bank. Let's get going again. So yeah, that was my video review of the Mercedes Actros. Absolutely outstanding truck. Star ratings, 4.5. The only things I want out of this truck is possibly a darker leather interior, so one without wood trim as well. And sometimes the gearbox can be a little bit indecisive uphill, but that's only really when you're doing kind of half throttle acceleration. But they're the only two things I can fault this truck. Otherwise, it's been fantastic to drive. Had it for 23,000 miles now and an awful lot of deliveries, and I'll be keeping it for an awful lot more, because I think personally it's one of the best trucks in the game. If you've not had a go of it yet, have a go of one. Even if you do a quick job, just take a quick job. But if you're looking for a new truck, visit your Mercedes dealer, have a look at the Actros, and preferably anything 52 and above. I find probably the slightly better model. But even if you get a 42 model or a 45, 48, 51, you wouldn't be shortchanged. Anyway, that's the end of my review of the Mercedes Actros. I hope you've enjoyed it. I will see you again soon for more truck reviews, more random journeys, and more random everything here with Bizzle Haulage. Thank you and goodbye.